This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, speaking in support of the Mining Journal Select Conference held in London, England, July 1st and 2nd. In order to allow you to spend your time at the conference more efficiently, we are interviewing many of the speakers and exhibitors at the conference. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dan Noone, CEO of G2 Goldfields. They control a deposit identified by the Mining Select team as one of the most exciting exploration and development projects in the world. Dan, thank you, first of all, for your efforts on behalf of shareholders, including, by the way, myself. Thank you, too, for your ongoing support of the Aspermont Mining Journal Select Conference in London.
Thank you, Rick. It's good to see you a shareholder.
I'm pleased to be a shareholder, particularly with the results enjoyed to date. Tell our audience, Dan, something about your background and about the background of other senior members of the team that might give us some confidence that you are the right team to advance this project successfully and establish some credibility for the answers to the questions that follow.
I'm a geologist by background. I started in the late 1980s in Papua New Guinea with Rio Tinto up on Lahir. That was a 50 million ounce deposit. I worked in Indonesia with Newcrest, where we discovered Gosowong, a very high grade 6 million ounce deposit. I worked in Peru for Homestake, and then I joined Patrick Sheridan in Guyana in the about 2007. And then we took the Aurora discovery through feasibility, finance, and built that mine, 8 million ounces. And that is now operated by Zijin Mining, who acquired that in 2018. So the other founder here was Patrick Sheridan, who still owns 19% of the stock. He first went to Guyana in 1993. He started Guyana Goldfields in 1996. So a wealth of experience there over 30 years. And he is the key reason we have the ability to get deals done and get good projects for us to make discoveries. Our COO is Torben Michelson. He was with Guyana Goldfields as well. He did the early earthworks there for the construction and built the last 60 kilometres of road before we went across to Suriname and joined IAMGOLD. And now he's back with us. And our VP of Exploration is Boaz Wade, who's Guyanese. He worked with Troy Resources before joining us at Guyana Goldfields. And then he came across to G2 after our discovery. So we've got a wealth of experience in country, over 50 years recently within that country. We think we can explore very effectively. The cost of discovery for the first 1.2 million ounces was $5 an ounce, which is exceptional anywhere, but in a country like Guyana, it's very good. And we think we've got a lot more ounces to find, and we'll do it cost effectively for shareholders.
The Mining Journal Select team has, of course, identified this as one of the most promising projects worldwide. If you could take us into the project and tell us what they and you are excited about and why.
Yeah, well, we just recently put out an MRE of plus 2 million ounces, which is comprised of the initial OKO main zone, which is 1.2 million ounces at 9 grams a tonne, exceptionally high grade, and also now the Gani discovery, which came in at 800,000 ounces at 2 grams, and that's still growing. We've only drilled down to 500 metres. Beyond that, we continue to explore along the 20-kilometre trend that we have, and in January announced the OKO Northwest discovery, 2.5 kilometres to the northwest of OKO main zone, which we're currently drilling out with 2 rigs. And then we have the Tracy and the AREMU zones along that trend all the way for the 20 kilometres. So very, very large district. Its analogy is West Africa, where 300 million ounces has been discovered historically in the West African Shield, only 100 so far in Guyana. The analogy is Wasi, which is a very high-grade deposit in Ghana, owned by AngloGold. There's been 70 million ounces discovered there historically, down to 2 kilometres. But we think we've got the same rocks, same style of mineralisation, and hence that's why AngloGold came in January for a placement for $22 million for 11.7% of the stock.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Anglo agreement. The Goldfields agreement. These major mining companies have very high cutoffs, often 5 million ounces plus. Tell us something about the agreement and tell us what they bring in addition to money. Tell us, too, about the nature of the agreement and the possibility or probability of amalgamation or takeover.
Well, Anglo is obviously the fourth biggest gold producer in the world. They've got a lot of mines in West Africa and Australia, and certainly now focusing on the Americas. They've got a great technical team. They came to site last November. They flew 3 out from Australia and spent 8 days there. One of the things they said they had to see was the ability to see 10 or 15 million ounces at least in the district, which they obviously did. And so, really for us, it's great to have that technical backup and access to that. But also, they're a company that wants to build mines. So they look at this and see a complete district. Obviously, our neighbours to the south are probably part of that. And they would like to see themselves be the builder and consolidator of that district. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of the agreement, we don't have a cap on them buying stock. We feel that they have a toehold, but not a stranglehold on the company, because the insiders of the company, myself, Patrick, and Stephen Stowe, control 27% of our stock. So there's no cap on them buying. And recently, if you look at their SEDI filings, they have been. So, we see them eventually being in a position where they actually could consolidate the district.
And that's an important strategic move on your behalf. Further validation of the district, I guess, is provided by the Reunion discovery, which immediately adjoins yours. Could you talk something about the potential of the entire district on both sides or all sides of your borders?
Well, I think if you look at what Reunion's already put out, they've got like north of 5 million ounces, which they have in a resource, and there'll be a pit there. Obviously, they've got the G mining action there with the a merger or a takeover. And if you put them together, our Guyana zone is right on the border there, all the way up to OKO main zone. It's 4.75 kilometres long. When you talk about tier one assets, as Bristow does at Barrick, it's got to be plus 5 million ounces. You've got to be able to get 500,000 ounces out of it a year. I'd like to think you also make some money, but he never talks about that. But basically, this is one of those. And Bristow will say there's 14 of these in the world. Well, now there's 15, if you look at it that way. And then you've got the rest of the district to go as well. But already between what Reunion has and what we have over that 4.75 Ks, that's a tier one asset.
Finally, Dan, could you talk to us about your activities in the next 12 to 18 months and how that will advance our understanding of this deposit and what possible catalysts investors might have to look forward to in the 12 to 18 month time frame?
Okay, currently we have 5 rigs going. We have 3 going on the Guyana area, because Guyana we sort of had it into 3 sections, but now it seems to be joining up along the whole way. And so we'll drill Guyana down to 500 metres and have put a new MRE out in the 4th quarter, which will include that new drilling at Guyana, but also the discovery at OKO Northwest, where we're drilling the 2 rigs. And to date, we've only drilled that down to about 100 metres maximum. Most of it's in the satellite. That's coming together very well. It's looking very much again like Guyana and OKO main zone, where we have a more disseminated style mineralisation in the volcanics and the carbonaceous sediments we're getting high grade. So that will, like I said, lead to an MRE at the end of the year. To the north of the OKO main zone, we're drilling at OKO North and the Birdcage area. Now, Birdcage was an area, it's right on strike of the main shear. It's been worked out historically. Michael Vieira, our vendor, pulled 64,000 ounces out of it in 1 year in 2004. So it's a bit of a blind target because it's covered in tailings, but we're drilling there at the moment. And we'll also drill at Tracy and up at the AREMU mine as well, which was the original deposit. And so we see ourselves targeting at least 3 million ounces in the next MRE by the end of the year. We think we can do that just Guyana and OKO Northwest, but hopefully make discoveries at Tracy and the AREMU mine and Birdcage and OKO North. So there's a lot going on out in the area.
Dan, this is clearly an exciting and rapidly advancing story. To the extent that our attendees want to learn more about the company, hopefully even before the conference, who specifically do they talk to and how do they reach that person?
Well, they can reach me quite easily. That's the email is dannoone@g2goldfields.com, but leave the E off the Noone. I answer my emails. So send me an email and I'll certainly get back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the perfect answer. The buck stops with the CEO. He wants to talk to you. Reach out and talk to him. This is a great story. Dan, thank you for your efforts on behalf of all shareholders, but thank you in particular for your efforts on behalf of me. And thank you, too, for your ongoing sponsorship of the Mining Journal Select Conference, London, England, July 1st and 2nd.
Thank you very much, Rick.